I'm going to go quickly through these because you've now, I presume Kate has told you all this. For those of you who are into little pieces of trivia, I'm not sure it would ever come up in a trivia pursuit, but actually this rule was posted on the CMS website before it even made it to the Federal Register, which is something I've never seen before. Here you go. You know that you have all these categories. You know, which is really important, that you have all these options. And so you just have to report one thing and you will get the gift of no negative payment adjustment. But again, if there's no negative payment adjustment, this is a budget neutral world, there'll be no uptick. Here are your MIPS eligible clinicians, just for you to know. The Secretary can add other eligible clinicians in 2019. And throughout the rules, so if you are in a practice with PTs and OTs or others who are not on this list, but have been participating in PQRS, CMS says go ahead, and this is actually something people should do. If you've been reporting and want to continue to report, do that, and we will give you feedback. Because you can imagine if you've been doing PQRS and now all of a sudden somebody says, stop, but oh, you have to start again 2 years from now, that could be an interesting challenge. You know this, you know this, you know this. This is always something that actually is from the proposed rule, but in my head, sometimes I find it very helpful to sort of step back and say, okay, where am I? Where do I end up? And so this can just help you walk through where you are in this. Are you subject to MIPS? Aren't you subject to MIPS? Can you make it into the APM? Here are the years, and really it's important that there are no costs this year, although you can get information about costs in the QRUR reports. And this is how it will play out. So I'm going to assume that Kate went through these for you. Again, it's 6 measures, it's a minimum of 90 days, but it's like the gift, and I want to emphasize, at least for the quality, you know, you just need to get something in there. They have, basically, they will, for quality, do away with data completeness. They're trying really hard just to get people to not have a negative adjustment the first year. Clinical improvement activities category, it has a new name, improvement activities. This too has been significantly reduced. If you don't want to do quality, then do one of these and just put a note somewhere in your record that you've done it. This one needs to be done for 90 days, as opposed to quality doesn't. This is the advancing care information category. Again, I'm presuming Kate went through this. It has been, it's still a hard lift, but it's been made easier. This is the one, though, that if you don't do the base reporting, you get a 0. It doesn't matter how well you do on all the others. If you just can't make the base, there's no additional credit. And cost is not part of the first year. CMS had proposed something like 41 episode measures in the proposed rule. They got significant comments back, and they have retreated, and they're basically going to limit the episode measures to those that are currently in the QRUR reports. Kate probably showed you this too. I think it's interesting that CMS is estimating that approximately 70,000 to 120,000 clinicians will participate in advanced APMs. And here's the list. She went through the physician focus. But I want to at least focus you on this slide. This is the CMS estimates of how they think. Again, it's at a very macro level. If you look at the rule, you can have work on the assumptions of 90% physicians will submit something, or there's a scenario where 80%, I've picked the 90%. That's the one CMS talks about too, and it's $199 million in payment adjustment. But approximately 40% of MIPS eligible clinicians are going to be excluded. That's because they're either new or they're in a rural. That's a lot. And it's 22 to 27% of Part B charges. Drill down on specialties, and the highest negative impact is on psychiatrists, and the highest positive impact is on the cardiothoracic surgeons and ophthalmologists. Lots of reasons for those, I presume, but I think part of it is actually they have been sort of ahead of the game in terms of their quality measures and their reporting measures. As you can see, there's how it plays out. The smaller the practice, the harder clearly they have in the MIPS program, and the larger the practice, the more clinicians with the payment adjustment. I think that's just linked to how the value modifier has been introduced. You began with larger groups, so it's larger groups have the most experience, and again, the numbers about the APMs. So you can drill down and say, okay, so what happens to podiatrists? And at, again, a really high level, using the 90% adjustment, here are the numbers. The MIPS payment adjustment is 0.2%. They think that the aggregate positive and neutral adjustments will be 4 million. They think that actually there'll be 12 million that will be distributed out of that 500 million to podiatrists, and that there will be some who choose not to submit, and that will play out to be minus 9 million. Approximately 26% of MIPS eligible podiatrists will be excluded, and these are the numbers that they project. So you see a lot of it is coming from the low volume threshold, and you can see here where they think there's 13,598 MIPS eligible clinicians. This is the timeline. Nothing's changed. It's just sort of helpful for me to look at this every so often to remember where I am, where I'm going, and what I need to think about. And then the last slide is actually more potentially a personal commentary, but I'm going to share it with you. I live in a mixed family. Lots of things are going through your mind when I say that, but actually it's a mixed baseball family. My son grew up as a young child in Boston, so he's a Red Sox fan. And okay, let's not all boo. I'm the Yankee fan. But my husband is the Cubs fan, and we all rallied with him. So I'll leave that up and answer any questions, or try to answer any questions.